Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Jordan Leander. Welcome back to the Two-Man Advantage podcast after a brief hiatus. Jordan Leander, like I said, that's Dylan as usual. Dylan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, although I find it funny that you don't want to explain the hiatus. You don't want to admit fault.
Oh, yeah, it's because of me. I went to New York on Monday, and then I
Traitor.
came home on Tuesday. Yeah, I'm such a traitor.
God. That's okay. Monday night, the Mets beat the Yankees, so
Yeah, no matter how tempting
you
it
should
was
go to
to,
New York more often.
no matter how tempting it was to go buy tickets to that game because it was DeGrom versus Severino, I didn't.
Seriously. I would have.
I thought about it. I really did.
It was actually,
75 bucks a pop.
that was the first non-Sox game that I watched all 9 innings of this year. I mean, I watched it in the background because I was watching something else, but it still counts.
Yeah. That counts for something. Severino got fucking. Oh, whoops! There's the first one over there.
Oh, that was
Oh,
quick.
hopefully that's the only one. But Severino got kicked around a little bit for
By the
his left
Mets.
by the Mets, and that's like you have to be very good at getting lit up to do that. Like if he's
What was the final of that game? Like 8-3?
I think it was 7-3, maybe 8. I don't remember. But Severino did not last very long.
Yeah.
All right, but that's not the
DeGrom
point
did
of
good.
this. That's not the point of this. Let's dive in.
Oh, yeah. It's Red Sox podcast. Whoops.
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, it was 8-5.
8-5, whatever.
That's not important.
You just
Yeah,
lost.
because we have two series that we have to cover because you decided you were going to go on a road trip.
For a
So
day.
we got to go over the domination that really wasn't that dominating if you actually watched any of the games. That was the Red Sox-Orioles series. Then we got a brief 2-game stint in Philadelphia where our pitchers decided that they knew exactly what the other pitchers were thinking, and we're just gonna light it up on the hitting side of things, which we will get to. But let's start with the Baltimore series, and just in general, before we dive game by game. What did you see? What did you like? What did you hate?
Well, I hated watching Nathan Evaldi get smacked. That was game
Yeah,
one, right? I'm trying to think that far back.
yeah,
Yeah, that was game one. Nathan Evaldi getting absolutely smacked around by Baltimore. I mean, statistically at the time, Baltimore was the best offense since the All-Star break, which is ironic considering they didn't have their All-Star shortstop that they went to the All-Star break with. But statistically,
yeah.
best offense in baseball from the break to the time of the series. But watching that game, I mean, you love to see the offense erupt like it did, but
Yeah.
oh my god, at the expense of Nathan Evaldi's little, I mean, like, I expected a little bit of regression because there's no way he's going the entire season with the Red Sox
No,
without
no.
giving up a run, but, like, he looked awful, and it's just, yeah, well, you love to see the offense, you just hate to see the guy you brought in to dominate in games like that and just not do it.
I mean, the good news for us being of all the defenders, well, at least after this one is, I mean, yeah, he gave up 8 runs, which we'll get to, but only 4 of them were earned. Who cares if he only went 2 2/3? It barely even moved the mark on his ERA. Um, and unfortunately, he did pitch again against Philly, and it really wasn't that much of a bounce back game. Although, again, more runs allowed than earned runs. But what can you do? Um, I was a bit shocked by what happened on Sunday. But we'll get to that, and I'm sure you have thoughts on that as
Yeah.
well. So let's get right in here with that Friday game with Ivaldi, as you mentioned, on the mound. It started out awesome. Very first inning, I think at this point there were 2 outs. Xander Bogaerts would hit his 17th of the year to bring in 3, and it looked like we were off to the races early. Um, Bogaerts has been hot since the All-Star break, like and just before the All-Star break too.
Yeah, he's definitely been. I know last year he hit like 273, but this year's 273 he's at right now is a lot better than last year's. Like I actually have confidence in him every time he goes up to the plate, unlike last year. And since the break, it's been basically more of the same, or as it was before the break with his clutch hitting, especially runners in scoring position. He's a fierce hitter in this lineup, which is ironic considering they have Betts and JD. You're still scared of Xander, even though he's not this ultra power threat like the other two.
It's almost like he was mad at himself for not making the All-Star team, and so he just decided he was going to turn into the best shortstop in baseball, which he's not quite there, but I think he's getting a lot closer than he was at the beginning of the year.
Right.
But it wouldn't stay good because the Orioles would explode in the second and then again in the third, scoring 4 runs in both. It all started with a solo homer for Chris Davis. Then Mullins would plate one man on a double, and then Adam Jones would single to put the O's in the lead. And then moving on to the third, after a rare error from JBJ, Baltimore was able to play another runner on a Caleb Joseph fly ball. And Mullins, who was actually really good in this series, this was his first 4 games in his career, right?
Right. It was his MLB debut was the Evaldi start, and I remember the second game of the series, Dave O'Brien talking about how he's a rising star, and I'm like, he literally played 1 game. I didn't even hear about him before that, so I don't even know if rising star is an accurate description of him, but he did look good. He did look as advertised after his first game. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, so he would plate another man. This time on a single, Jonathan Villar would place a sac bunt to bring Caleb Joseph home, and then Tim Beckham, everybody's favorite, would drive in Mullins on a single, making it 8-3 after 3. But you can't count this Red Sox team out because even though they know how to lose, and we will be covering a loss that they had, you can never really count them out. And that's what makes them so damn entertaining. This time, it was Jackie Bradley Jr. who would kick things off as he would triple to center, bringing in Brock Holt, who I believe was on first. I'm not sure. And then, on a passed ball, Jackie would come in himself, move on to the 6th inning now, because nothing really happened in between. And Brock Holt would homer. His second of the year.
Crushed it. He crushed it. It's weird because he has no power, but when he barrels one up, he launches it. And we'll talk about another one later on. But wow, this dude, for a little guy with no power, he seems to jump on a couple baseballs now and then.
Yeah, you don't hear Brock Holt homers. But this time he stepped up, first pitch swinging, brought the Sox within 2. The Red Sox would load the bases, and Mitch Moreland would get a sac fly that would make it a 1-run game. Xander Bogaerts with a game-tying walk would make it 8-8. And then I think next batter, Devers would walk, still with the bases loaded, make it 9-8 Red Sox. And Holt again would come up and would get his 3rd RBI in 2 at-bats in the same inning, as he would single, bringing in JD and Bogaerts. But Tim Beckham, your boy,
my guy,
would homer again against the Red Sox, this time making it 11-9.
What a start.
And Chris Davis would get a sac fly, making it a 1-run game, but that was the closest the O's would get.
That was off Hembree, correct?
The Beckham homer?
The Beckham homer and the Davis sac fly.
Yeah, it was on Hembree.
Shocking.
Benny would crunch one to right center. That would be a 3-run shot as Jackie Bradley Jr. and Mookie Betts were on base. And then in the 8th, Mookie would get a 2-run double. Sorry, 3-run double. And JD would drive in 2 on a single, ending the scoring for Boston. Baltimore would plate 2 more en route to a 19-12 Boston win. I hated this game.
It's one of those games where you love it if you're a fan of a lot of offense. But those
I don't understand modern fans.
Those kind of games happen sometimes, though, where just the floodgates open for both teams. It's just an absolute slugfest. I think it's worth noting that JD's 2-run single in the 8th, or it might have been the 9th. I don't remember which inning it was. I think it was the 8th, though.
It was the 8th.
His 100th and 101st RBI of the season. And he's the first guy since David Ortiz. Perhaps you've heard of him. I'm not sure. I mean, I hear he's an up-and-coming star. He might pan out.
Who, Ortiz?
Yeah, that's that bum. Yeah,
up and coming star in the retirement league.
Yeah, Killing the men's league. No, but JD is the first guy since Ortiz to have 30 and 100 in his first season with the Red Sox since 2003, which is Dave Ortiz, which is awesome. And he's not done because it's still the middle of August.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, right. Got 40 games left, and he needs 13 and like 36 to get to 50 and 140.
You think he's got a shot at the Triple Crown?
No, I don't think Mookie's gonna. JD would have to get like otherworldly hot, and Mookie would have to stay like steady for JD to catch him, and Mookie would have to slump a little bit too. But that's like I don't think there's much of a chance that he's gonna catch him in batting average.
I think there's a chance because he's only right now he sits looking stuff up while we're recording. 19 points back at Betts. It's not impossible.
Highly
like
unlikely.
you said, I don't see Mookie slowing down that much, and I don't see JD getting that hot. But
that'd be absurd. You should put him in the Hall of Fame if he gets that hot at this point.
Well,
like if he has a series where he just flat out doesn't get out,
16 for 16
with like 9 home runs, yeah, put him in the Hall of Fame.
Meanwhile, Mookie goes like 2 for 12 because they just walk him.
Yeah, just goes 0 for 0 because they just walk him. Every time.
Every single
leading off the bottom of the first inning, intentional walk. Let's just put him on base.
Well, if Alex Rodriguez was calling the game, that would be what he would.
Oh yeah,
he'd be begging for it.
He's such an idiot.
What an idiot.
He's so much better on Fox than he was on ESPN.
So much better just being retired. But there is a chance that if he does catch him, he wins the Triple Crown, but doesn't even come close to the MVP because still nobody's talking about him.
Yeah, I don't get
He's
it.
the first guy to 100 RBIs, the closest guy to 40 homers, second in average. Nobody's even talking about him as MVP.
It is crazy because we talk about him all the time as Red Sox fans about how great JD Martinez has been for the Red Sox, and I think experts and analysts, they talk about how important he is to the Red Sox, but when it comes to people talking about the MVP conversation, JD Martinez might be the most underrated player in all of baseball.
Yeah.
He's hitting
and
over
it's stupid
330.
that somebody with 37 homers, a guy who leads the league, in the entire league, not just the American League, in home runs and RBIs, and everyone's like, no, it's going to be Trout. Are you kidding me?
And he's second in batting average. I'm pretty sure he's third or fourth in all of baseball in batting average. But he's second. He's second in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All of baseball.
All of baseball. Second in batting average, first in homers, first in runs batted. He's got an 11 RBI lead on the second place in RBIs in all of baseball, which is insane. Yeah. I don't understand how he's not in the discussion. I think he's finally inching his way into it, and I think it has a little bit to do with Trout getting put on the disabled list. It took Trout, who's on the last place team, putting up worse numbers than JD, getting put on the disabled list, where people would be like, oh yeah, this JD Martinez guy, this JD Martinez dude over here in Boston is freaking putting up an absolute historic season, and we're just not gonna talk about it.
That's another thing is, you just said that Mike Trout on a last place team. Okay, it's called the most valuable player. It's not called who's the best. So even if Trout had the best numbers, clearly he's not adding much value to that Los Angeles team because they ain't even close to the playoff race.
The only argument people had was the whole Trout leads baseball in WAR, which I don't even understand how it's possible with a team that's in dead last in their division.
I don't even know how you calculate that.
I don't either. They're in fourth place, but now he's not even leading that because Mookie is.
I think it's a stat that they made up just so that he would lead.
If there was a best player award, it's far and away Mike Trout every single year. But this is not, and he's not. But the thing
I don't know. I don't know about this year. I don't know about far and away.
This year, maybe not. It's kind of like how they talk about LeBron should always win the MVP in the NBA, which is probably
false.
It's more true than Trout every year in the MLB.
Well, yeah.
Well, when you talk about most valuable to their team, I don't think it's even comparable how valuable LeBron is to any team he plays on in basketball.
Right. But if you look at it as a team performs better with X player, Trout ain't doing anything for LA. He turned them from an awful team to a bad team. That's it.
Yeah, they've been in the playoffs one time in Mike Trout's career. That was in 2014, and they got swept. by Kansas City.
Yeah. How are they doing? Jesus Christ.
Kansas
They're going
City
to be
made
the
the World
first team
Series
to
that
be
year.
eliminated from the wild card.
No, they're not. The Orioles
Uh,
probably will be.
There's only one. Last I checked, there was only one game separating them for elimination's sake. The magic number for Baltimore was 6. For Kansas City, it was 7. Actually, no. It might have been the other way around.
I don't know.
I know that Baltimore's already out of the division race. They were eliminated on Friday when we beat them. We eliminated them on Friday. But they're still technically in it for the wild card.
It is Thursday, August
they would
16th. And the Orioles are eliminated from the American League East. They are 49.5 games back.
They could win out the rest of the year. I was doing the math earlier, and it's not really hard to do the math because it's right in your face, but I was doing it out earlier. The O's could win out and would go 77-85.
That's absurd. That is not okay.
They would be sub 500 and would miss the wild card. Yeah. Speaking of how bad they are, let's move to Game 1 of the doubleheader on Saturday, which saw David Price take the hill. And he's been hot since the All-Star break. You want to talk about Xander? How about you look on the pitching side of things? Hard to argue with a guy who's been better since the break than David Price. Obviously, Chris Sale is Chris Sale, but I mean, he also missed 2 starts being hurt, so I think you got to give the edge to Price here.
Price has been balling out. I think that's the first time in a while that he had a 10 strikeout game. But he was just carving people up. And I know people are going to be like, oh, it's the Orioles.
It's the Orioles.
But, like, there's still... That's the same team that just scored 12 the other night off of you.
Yeah.
2, best offense statistically in baseball since the All-Star break. So...
Yeah.
And he just flat out carved them up for 6 innings. He was dominant.
Yeah, no. I didn't see this game because I had to be a real person. Which sucks, by the way. Don't ever try it. Don't get a job. It's the worst.
That's why I quit.
But yeah, you were telling me just how good Price was in this. The pitching lines should say it all here. 6 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 10 strikeouts. Has dropped his ERA all the way down to a 3.75, which, as I look at it real quick,
it should be even lower, but that Yankees game where
Right.
they blew it for him. It could be.
Exactly.
We could be talking about 3.4 ERA right now.
I wouldn't go that
3.5 at least. Because it was 3.76 when he exited, and then the 2 runs that were charged with him put it back up to 3.93.
But since the All-Star break, he came into the Detroit start, which was his first one after the break. Came into it with a 4.42 ERA, and in 4 starts, he's down to a 3.75. So that should tell you just how good he's pitching, like the guy we're paying.
Yeah, he is. He's been balling.
It's nice.
He's been balling out.
You guys can thank us because it's been since we started this pod that he has decided to baseball again. So you're welcome. You can shower us in gifts by visiting patreon.com. No, I'll do that later.
Damn, that would have been perfect.
It would have been a good one, but
that would have been section 10-esque where they just were like, I don't know. It's just a perfect plug. You just blew it. So go on.
Yeah. So this was another game that was actually the last one really wasn't, but this game was heavily influenced by the home run ball. Surprise, surprise! It's the league we live in. Eduardo Nunez would hit a 2-run shot to kick things off in the 5th. Jackie Bradley Jr. would get his 10th of the year to make it 3-0. In the 6th, what the hell? The at-bat app is just spewing nonsense, but I'm assuming somebody went to steal a base, there was a misthrow, and Xander Bogaerts, who was stealing, scored, so whatever.
He was stealing third, and then the catcher threw it in the left, and he scored on it.
I'll take your word for it.
I watched it. And then Jackie hit another home.
Then Jackie Bradley Jr. crushed another one, and it would be 5-0. And that was the final for Game 2, as the Red Sox got off to a 2-0 series lead. And then just a couple hours later, would have to turn it around with Hector Velasquez on the mound. And this was It was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
No,
He didn't even get through 3 innings.
which is which actually was kind of strange. I thought he could have.
Yeah. But he got yanked, and then Workman came in and gave up the inherited runner, allowed him to
Yeah.
score on a single. But I mean, the game was just really ugly. It wound up working
Yeah.
in our favor, but it was just not a pretty game to watch. Like I was bored watching it. I mean, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that they had a long reliever starting the game. So from the
Right.
get go, I was like, oh. But
The thing that really bothered me was Red Sox pitching didn't have a strikeout
until the night.
for the first 7
Oh,
and
it's the-
2/3
the
of this
eighth, okay.
game. It took, I think it was Joe Kelly in the 8th inning,
That's ironic.
right, to finally get a strikeout, but then they would end with 4. Because baseball. Yeah, so nothing happened for much of this game. Baltimore, like you said, in the 3rd inning would kind of come alive. It started with a walk, then 2 straight groundouts, which at this point I was like, okay, why are you taking Velasquez out after he just got 2 guys out? Like, that makes no sense. I could see if he had given up the walk and then, another base hit, but that didn't happen. And he gave up the walk and then got 2 straight ground balls, and they still felt the need to take him out. So, okay. Yeah. It would be a single there after, that would drive in the run, and then 2 straight walks. How did the run score? Why don't I have that down?
The run in the inning, Workman gave up a single. It's the first guy he faced when he came in.
Oh, I forgot about the run in the 2nd. That's what happened. Okay. Yeah. So Trey Mancini would reach, and he would be brought in by Nato Nunez, whatever. It's irrelevant.
Not a real person.
So it would be 2-0 going into the 4th, where JD Martinez would do what JD Martinez does best, and that is crush the souls of anybody who has to face the Red Sox, as he would launch a home run, his first of 2 in the game. Spoilers. That would make it
really?
2-1 game. Was this where he hit 35, or was that the next one?
That was his 36th, I thought.
Was it?
I could have sworn that home run was his 36th and followed up by his 37th as next at bat, or later on in the game.
Probably was.
Because I don't recall him hitting another home run since then.
I only kind of... Yeah, it was. It was 36, and 37 came later. Okay, whatever. Who cares?
Details.
So then, yet another Tommy No Name. A different one this time.
Yeah, not
Dan
this,
Butler.
This one wasn't Tony Renda.
It's not a real person. Would actually luck into an RBI as Eduardo Nunez would reach base on a triple just before him, and then Butler, who I blame for Evaldi's bad start, and I think evidence supports that if you watched last night's game when Sandy Leon was catching again, he would hit a sac fly to bring in Nunez. Then we moved to the 6th. Steve Pearce, who is awesome, would reach base on a walk. He would later come around to score after a wild pitch on a walk to Rafael Devers, and poor Devers didn't get the RBI for this. I was a little bummed. I mean, he drew the walk. That's enough. But technically, the walk isn't what brought him in. It was a wild pitch, so that doesn't count. And you know what? The RBIs and earned run rules are just too stupid. Joey Rickard would tie the game up when he launched a ball to left center.
I believe that was off Hembry also.
It sure was.
Shocking!
Yep. Keep bringing him in, guys. He's great. He would luckily only work that inning. Oh, and I think it's worth noting, because I think this was Was this the last time that he would pitch in the series?
Yeah.
No, not him. Yes, it would. Um, Drew Pomeranz
Oh. I did that.
looked amazing in his bullpen stints in the Baltimore series. Not amazing. He still ran into a lot of the same problems, but he looked a lot better than he did when he was a starter.
He got outs. That's the important thing.
Right.
But we'll get into his last outing, but eventually.
Yeah. He would get his ERA under 6 during the Baltimore series. And now I lost track of where we are in the game.
It was right after you said Joey Rickard hit a home run that tied it.
Oh, yeah.
Off Hembry.
So that was
Hembry is great at baseball.
He is the best.
Better than Kendall.
That was when J.D. Martinez would hit another home run in the 8th, driving in Steve Pearce on a 2-run shot. That would make it 5-3. Sox would tack on another one in the 9th after Betts doubled. Brock Holt brought him in with a single. There's that name again, the guy you don't expect to ever actually do anything. Did a whole hell of a lot in this Baltimore series. And then I think it's time that the entire fan base just kind of wakes up and has a serious talk here. Because Craig Kimbrell comes in with a 3-run lead. And yeah, he didn't blow the save. Didn't even come close. He ended up getting 3 strikeouts and the Sox would win 6-4. But he didn't get off unscathed because he would give up a home run to Trey Mancini. Does Craig Kimbrell not understand the definition of a closer?
At least not since the break. I mean, again, we'll get into the outings in the Philly series with a few relievers, but he's looked very shaky since the break specifically. And it started with a long layover where he just flat out didn't go into any games. So we could expect at least a couple outings where he struggled, but it's gotten to the point where I think you should be legitimately concerned. Maybe not seriously concerned, but at least a little bit. Like, you shouldn't be like, oh, he's fine. At this point, you should be like, okay, something's up. We need to figure it out because we need him in October. And right now, he ain't cutting it.
Yeah, I don't trust him. But when I see that he's warming in the pen, I go, okay. Uh-oh. It's not the, oh, thank God, we're getting close to the end. He's going to finish this up and wrap it up in a nice little bow and we're going to walk out of here. It's, oh, crap, this game is close, isn't it?
It's one of those situations where you're like, I'm confident he's going to get the save, but I'm not confident in it's going to be a clean inning. Because that's basically
I only trust him if he has a multi-run lead.
Well, the thing with him is, he's had a lot of outings where he's come in 1-run games, 2-run games, and he's gotten 3 outs and they've won. But it seems a lot when he comes in with a 3-run lead or even a 4-run lead, he gives a run up and then gets the save. Like the Trey Mancini home run, led off the inning, and then he had 3 strikeouts. That's weird. It's almost like if it's 2 runs or less, he's better than if he has a big lead, which I don't understand coming from a guy of his caliber, but whatever.
Well,
got the save.
I think he just takes it for granted almost that he's going to win, and it's getting in the way. Obviously, this time he got away with it and has gotten the save in at least his last 3, but and in 4 of his last 7. Which, 4 of his last 7, that is not a good number.
Well, he's not pitched in 7 save situations.
That's true. Well, wasn't there only 1 non-save situation that he pitched in?
I think there was 2.
Whatever. His ERA has climbed as of late, and I know that for a bullpen guy, we've had this conversation a lot. It's much easier for your ERA to climb than it is for it to drop. But you want to talk about just since the break, he was at a 173 when he came in the Detroit series. He was up to a 257 leaving Baltimore. So it's not looking good, but people are still out there saying how important he is. No, we can't even think about letting him go, even though we have guys whose contracts are either up or guys who we should probably sit down and renegotiate with so that they don't want to leave come next year. Looking at JD, looking at Chris. So
Yeah,
sorry, Greg, but in my opinion, you got to go when it comes to those guys.
yeah, I wrote about this too, about how I think the Red Sox, maybe they won't let him go, but they definitely need to sit back once the season's over and really evaluate what they want from their closing spot, because they, like you said, they have contracts that are very important to them, like JD's, they're going to probably renegotiate with him.
Yeah.
They need to lock down Mookie. They need to lock down Sale. They're probably going to have Price on the books still, so it's not like you're going to have extra $31 million just laying around. We could be like, okay, if Kimber wants 16, we can just give him 16 and it's okay, because Price is...
He's not pitching like a $16 million closer. He's hardly pitching like the $13 million closer he is.
But I think at the end of the day, it really depends on how he closes this... no pun intended. Closes the season. But... it's really pathetic, I know. But... I'm not overly concerned, but I'm definitely moderately worried. And I think... But even with his struggle, his ERA is still roughly 2.5. He looked better in his Phillies outing, but we'll see. We'll see, because they need him, and I think to the point in defense of Red Sox fans that are saying we can't even think about getting rid of him. Like, you look at the bullpen that they got. If you let go of Kimbrel, holy crap, there's no name in it that scares you. I mean, yes, they have guys that are performing well. But there's nobody that, like, when they go in, an opposing teams can be like, oh crap, we gotta face this guy. Like, even though Kimbrel's been bad, people still go, oh crap, this is gonna be the game where he turns it around, isn't it? Because if he's on, he's untouchable, and we've seen it. So
I don't necessarily know if that's true.
If you go into, so say they're in the playoffs, they're facing Houston in the first round. They're up by 1 in the ninth inning.
I don't trust any pitcher in the world against Houston. That is a terrible example.
Okay, fine. They're facing the Indians.
There we go.
They're in the ninth inning. It's a one-run game, and they've got the heart of the order up. Lindor, Ramirez, and probably Brantley. You roll out Ryan Brazier. You think Cleveland's afraid of him? You think if they roll out Matt Barnes,
I don't think they have to be. I don't think they have to be afraid of him. Dude, but they will get to. They will be.
I don't think so.
They won't be at first, but then he'll sit down Lindor on 3 pitches, and oh crap!
I don't think they're overly concerned. I think a little bit of coming back late in games is just having that swagger about you that you're just like, oh yeah, this guy can't do crap against me. If you put a guy like Kimber out there, it's a little bit harder to be like, oh, I'm gonna light this dude up or whatever it may be. If it's Brazier, they're just like.
Well, I think as of right now, if we threw Brazier in there, yeah, they'd be confident. But I think if he pitches the way he's been pitching through the rest of this year, I think then people are going to start taking note and saying, okay, yeah, I am a little worried to face this guy because he doesn't give up runs. I mean, he's got like 14 innings, and he's only given up 2. So I think if he keeps on that pace, people are going to start to take notice, and he will be a name that people worry about come playoff time.
16 innings, 2 earned runs.
You're just making my point.
No, I was just confirming it. And he's only half a win worse than Bryce Harper in terms of WAR. I just thought it was funny, even though it's a stat that we both don't really like that much. He's according to that stat, he's only half a win worse than Bryce Harper.
Yeah, you always say how I hate advanced stats. I don't hate advanced stats. I hate useless advanced stats. WAR and OPS are useless.
OPS is not useless. I love OPS.
Now,
It's not my
whip.
It's not my first stat that I go to, but like OPS is an important stat. I think
that is a discussion for another time.
I'm right.
Because for a while I used to hate. Well, not used to hate, but I didn't get whip. But then instead of looking at it the way that it's just 2 things put together, it's really not. It's basically base runners per inning. And if you look at it like that instead of, how many walks and hits is this guy going to give up? Because that doesn't really tell you anything. But if you look at it as base runners, then it actually starts to mean something. So maybe it's just a case of they just need to change the name of OPS. And change the name of, in this case, if you look at whip as base runners per inning, it makes a lot more sense. And maybe if you change OPS to, total bases per at bat, it makes sense. I don't know.
It's not, because is on base plus slugging. That's why it's called.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying if you just gave it a fancy name that's not just we couldn't come up with anything, so we just decided to take two arbitrary stats and put them together, and now it's important.
I don't know. I just think it's an important stat when you're evaluating players to see their OPS because some people have a very skewed one based off of like say their slugging is like 500, but their OBP is only like 300. I mean they're right around league average for OPS, but if it's like I don't know, I feel like it kind of fluctuates, but I feel like it's a good way of evaluating players.
Oh, everyone's allowed to be wrong sometimes.
And this time
Today is your day.
It's Dylan's day.
But let's go to a stat that I don't think anybody can debate its importance, and that's home runs. 'Cause Steve Pearce would get things going in Game 4 right away, third batter of the game. He would take his fifth pitch of the at bat. He would take it deep and start this game off nice, which would allow Christopher Allen Sale, a man whose name I can no longer say as just Chris Sale. I have to get the full thing in. Who was making his first start in about 115 years. At least that's what it felt like. Now, this is something that I alluded to earlier and said we would both have we would both have a take on this. And I guess we'll get to it now, because not really a very noteworthy game up to the point that I want to talk about. I guess we'll mention JD would get another RBI on a double that brought in Brock Holt in the fourth. But Sale making his first start since July 27th. No earned runs. Only went 5 innings. But more importantly, only went 68 pitches. What?
Yeah, it's weird because Cora kind of backtracked a little bit because going into the game, he was talking about how he wanted to get him from like 85 to 90, maybe 100, depending on where the game's at. And he yanked him after 5 with 68 pitches and 12 strikeouts in 5 innings. Like, we were talking about how he could potentially go for 20, even though it was his first start back.
Oh, yeah.
It was like he's gonna make a real bid for this. Then all of a sudden, I see
break the damn record.
Then I see Tyler Thornburg warming up, and I was like, "What?"
It was the 5th. I mean, if you go by, all right, 85 pitches is like, because he said 85 to 90. If you say that he set a strict limit at 85, that's still 2 more innings. The way he was pitching.
Yeah, the way
so
possibly 3.
What?
The way the Orioles were swinging. but like he made Chris Davis look stupid on a couple sliders. There was the one where he struck Chris Davis out and he turned around. I think he looked at. I'm trying to remember who was playing second that day. I think it was Nunez. He like looked out at him and he like started laughing because of how bad he made Chris Davis look. But I mean, I'm indifferent on this because ultimately the Red Sox did win, so it's like no harm, no foul. Chris Sale's ERA dipped below 2. I think it's 1.97 now. Which is
it's 1.97.
It's the best in the American League. But like, I don't know. I'm indifferent because then Cora, when he was asked about it again, was like, "Oh, I misspoke. I was told only you have to go 75."
Yeah, bull.
I don't know if that's bull or not, but like if the medical staff actually told him that, then I understand it. I understand Cora's thought process. Get him out after 5. Doesn't have to worry about throwing any stressful pitches later on in the game. Third time or the last few guys in the order.
But this is Baltimore. This was basically a rehab start.
It was still, what, a 2-0 game at the time? 3-0 when he got yanked?
Yeah, and look what almost happened.
Almost.
Leave him in there, yes. And Jesus Christ, we ride into the 7th and we save the fucking bullpen for once.
I'm the one that's allowed to swear here.
Yeah, well, keep dropping stuff that's around you and stop making fun of me.
Yeah,
but this game it just bothered me because I was so excited to see Sale finally back on the mound, and he only went 5 after giving up no runs and sitting down 12 guys in 68 pitches. Like, he was on Porcello levels of dominance, and then it was like, oh, you got yanked after 5? Okay, so what's the deal? At first I was like, okay, maybe he came back and said, yeah, my shoulder's still a little still bothering me a bit. I just want to take it easy. So they yanked him. But he was like, no, I was good to go the rest of the game if they wanted. Like, And then Cora, like you said, just totally backtracked.
And this is something he's been doing all year, though. He's just been really monitoring guys, and I think after the layoff with the shoulder inflammation, you want to make sure you really are strict about it. You don't want to extend him if you don't have to. And I know it makes a lot of sense after watching the bullpen almost cough it up that you probably should have left him out there, and you probably would have been fine if he went another inning, maybe a second inning after that. But I understand Cora's thought process, but it really looked bad for a while. It wound up not costing them in the end. He wound up getting the win. His ERA dropped below 2. So it could have been like if they wound up losing that game, then obviously I have a different mindset right now. But they won, so I'm not gonna really get mad at Cora that much. It just I understood what his thought process was, but I don't think it needed to happen at the time. Maybe after the 6th inning, even if he was at like 75, 80 pitches.
Yeah, if he went 6 and got a quality start out of it, then fine. But he didn't even get that. I mean, the way that they pulled him so quick, he's lucky he even got the win.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
It was like a Brian Johnson start.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you dominated. See ya.
Didn't even think of it that way. Jesus Christ, Chris Sale is not Brian Johnson.
Yeah,
Jesus.
He's worse.
He pitched in this game, so they'll let Brian Johnson pitch, but not Chris Sale, even though Johnson's... And that's another thing, is you brought up it's his first day back off the layoff, you gotta be strict. Can I counter that?
Go ahead, I don't care. Go ahead.
You had Monday off, you have tonight off. Tonight being Thursday, just in case I don't edit this in time. Sale pitched on Game 4, which was Sunday. Sale's next start is on Sunday. So not only is he coming off of a lot of rest, but he's also going to get a lot of rest. So it's not like you had to worry about, okay, we can't overextend him, or we can't overextend him because we have a bigger game in just a few days that we need him saved for. He's getting 6 days off. Actually, 6 days off. 6 days and 21 hours off. So, come on. Like, it's just whatever. But he would get the win.
We're talking about a potentially just one less inning pitch, though. At the end of the day, I look at the result of that game and I saw Chris Sale come back throwing absolute piss rods out of his hand. And there was like fire coming out of his fingertips as he was letting go of some fastballs. He made some people look stupid. He looked like Chris Sale. I understand, but the layoff after missing a lot of time, it's different from being on a disabled list as opposed to just having a lot of rest after having a start. Like, he was shut down for a few days because of his shoulder. You don't want to risk it, because what if you put him back out there?
Well, that's the story they were telling the media.
But what if you put him out there for the 6th inning and it flares up on him again? I mean, I know it's a risk.
You yank him.
I know it's the risk.
I thought it was smart to have Thornberg up and ready.
Yes, I would have.
I didn't think it was smart to put him in right away.
I would have short leashed Sale and had him go out there.
I would have short leashed him after 80 pitches. Not after 60.
I would have short leashed him. Short leashed him. Wow, I can't say that. Short leashed him when he went out there for the 6th inning, regardless. He gives up I mean, if there's 2 outs, then maybe not. But a leadoff double, maybe you're like, okay, I'll just go get it.
Yeah, if he's giving up hard hit balls, sure. But the way he was pitching, nobody could even touch him. He had 1 hit.
Yeah,
1 hit.
Pretty sure it was a single. Renato Nunez, I think, got it.
Yeah. So,
you need a scorebook, and it took you less time to figure that out.
Yeah, you know what? I don't remember things, okay? I got a lot going on. My brain moves a lot, alright? I can't just sit here and go, the entire Orioles lineup, okay, this dude struck out twice, this dude struck out once, this dude got a single.
That's literally what happened.
I have to have it, no, yeah, seriously. I have to have it in front of me, alright? Yeah, so... Even with this stupid decision, this decision that Cora made, Sale's ERA since the start of July is a .29. So, he's great.
And his ERA over his last, I think, 6 starts is .20. Since in his last 11 starts, his WHIP and ERA are both nice. They're both .69.
Funny.
Very funny.
Yeah, he does lead. Doesn't he still lead the league in WHIP?
Yeah, leads the league in WHIP, leads
Yeah.
the league in strikeouts, and that's with a 10-day layoff. Actually,
Well,
more
he
than
doesn't
that.
lead the majors anymore.
Doesn't lead the
He
Grom
does
does,
lead
right?
the AL. He's
Okay.
tied with Garrett Cole with 219.
And Garrett Cole started last night.
Yeah.
I still think people were saying that him getting hurt hurts his Cy Young.
I think it helps it.
I think it definitely helped it. Last year he got
Because he's going to come out pitching like a god.
Last year he got
I
got overextended by Farrell every single outing, and it wound up
Well,
making.
you
It wound
say
up
that, but
preceding him.
I was looking at it earlier this month, and they really, at least when I was looking at it, and it might have changed since, but they really haven't saved him that much so far.
I mean, he has less innings, he has less pitches thrown, and with a guy with
It's
that,
not as much as everybody's making it out to be, though. It is less, but it's not like everyone's saying, "Oh, Cora's really doing a good job saving him." It's only like it's maybe one start less.
Well, the thing is, you also have to factor in the whole stressful pitches thing, because I know if you throw 40 stressful pitches, it makes your arm feel like you threw 75. And a lot of times last year, regardless of whether, say, an outing, he had a 95 pitch start last year, but he gave up a couple of runs and he had a couple of jams he had to get himself out of. And then this year he has an 105 pitch outing where his worst inning was like a leadoff double he had to work around. There's a difference, and I think in monitoring him in that regard is why Cora is getting so much praise, even if the innings and the pitch count for the overall from the season aren't that far apart.
Yeah, I still think it's funny how you're trying to equate your pitching career to.
I'm not. I'm just saying. I know.
Major League Baseball player. I've never seen Chris Sale hit anybody in the nuts, but whatever.
I'm more famous in Boston than him. It's a fact. It's not,
I don't
that's not
think
a fact.
it is.
That is not a fact. That is definitely not a fact.
So yeah, the Sox would win this game. Chris Sale's great. The bullpen's Ryan Brazier had to bail out Tyler Thornburg. That's a sentence that, when on paper, that's a sentence that is like my bullpen wet dream, but in reality, it just made me want to kill Thornburg. Oh, come on. Chris Sale giving way to Tyler Thornburg, giving way to Ryan Brazier.
Giving way to
That's
Matt
like a
Barnes,
dream
giving
scenario.
way to
That's
Craig
like a
Kimbrell.
dream scenario for me. Those are three pitchers I absolutely love. That should be next year's like template for games. Is Chris Sale going 7,
don't think
Thornburg in the 8th, and Brazier in the 9th.
I don't see Brazier as a closer, dude. He's fine in his role. There's some guys.
What is his role? His role is just
inning.
come in when we need you.
Yeah, and he does well. But
So what if we need him in the 9th?
Well, if you need him in the 9th, you're in some serious. You're on a serious creek without a paddle, dude.
What if Kimbrel gets hurt? Who are you putting in?
Matt Barnes.
What if he dies?
Then you have Thornburg, and then you go to Brazier.
You don't even put Brazier over. Okay.
No, you need
Let's move on to the Philly series before my head explodes.
You need to have guys with closing experience before you go to.
But how do you get experience until you whatever. Okay. Entry level versus experience. Let's go to the Philly series because I'd rather talk about a series where we lost than get into this argument.
Fight me, fool.
Anyway, Rick Porcello looks like Rick Porcello.
He dominated.
Which was nice. Wait. Who caught the Toronto game?
That was, it was Leon.
Was it Sandy?
It was Leon.
Damn it.
But the thing,
I can't blame Butler for everything.
But the thing is Toronto has historically pooped all over Rick Porcello's ERA for like the last 4 years.
Yeah, they were saying if you take the Toronto starts out, going into the Philly game, he was 13-3 with a 3.2.
Yeah.
In reality, he was 14-4 with a 4.17.
14-4, 14-5, yeah, and then he just goes out there and he's like, "Oh, what's up, Phillies? I'm gonna all over you real quick." He dominated for 7 innings.
Yep, only the 1 home run, and he would make up for it by getting a double of his own. Again, if you remember the Washington series at the start of July, he got a double in that game.
3-run
as well.
double off Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
Just saying, Rick Porcello will be the first Red Sox to hit 400 in a season since Ted Williams.
Shut up. But yeah, it's a shame that Scherzer's gonna win the Cy Young in the NL. And you know it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
should be DeGrom, but it's
DeGrom.
not going
Out
to
of
be.
pity, you should just give it to him. Like, honestly. I would.
Well, your
like,
team didn't. That's the thing. All right, if you can give Mike Trout, the MVP, playing for the Angels.
I do think
You ought to give DeGrom the Cy Young pitching for the Mets.
No, I think DeGrom's going to win it. I really don't think that.
I think DeGrom should win it, but I don't think he will.
He's going to. It would be. I think there would be a lot of rioting if they didn't. I would lead it. I would lead it.
I'd be the one skipping the podcast to go to New York. Yes, you did. You skipped. Don't even try to back out of it. I'm just using this to cover up the fact that I'm looking for the inning that Porcello hit the double to see if anything else happened, and it didn't. Well, it did, but it had nothing to do with Porcello, because Sandy Leon, who I'm actually starting to think is one of the best catchers in the league, hit a home run.
You have to set the threshold pretty low, considering Salvador Perez was an all-star starter.
I just mean as a catcher.
No, I'm just saying, but you have to set the bar pretty low for catchers in the American League, because Salvador Perez was an all-star starter with his .218 batting average. And
I'm not talking about batting performance.
I know, I'm just saying you set the bar very low this year because of how bad the all-star starter was. So you set the bar like that, and you're like, dude, Leon's right there with him. He's not the best at blocking pitches, but he calls.
I think he's one of the best at calling the game.
He is probably top 5 in baseball in terms of calling the game.
Yeah.
Which no, I'm not saying he's a top 5 catcher, but he's a top 5 game caller.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Nice.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, look at how much different guys pitched when they had to pitch to Butler. It was not pretty.
It is noticeable how much better guys are when they pitch to Leon, but I'm not saying he's a top 5 catcher in the game. He's a top 5 at calling a game. He's not the top 5 at being a catcher in the game. I would take a handful of guys over him.
Well, what do you define as being a catcher versus just calling a game?
Blocking.
Other than catching balls.
Blocking the ball. Framing. Throwing guys out on the base pass. Granted, not many guys have reached base against guys when he's back there. They're like.
Can I argue the framing thing?
The framing. Go ahead.
He frames it when he knows it's a strike, but he doesn't try to convince the ump that it is. If he knows it's not a strike, he doesn't try. But if he knows that it was a strike, he'll frame it.
That's the only thing Vasquez is better than him at. And it's like, oh, this pitch is 6 inches outside. I'm going to snag it. And it's going to get called. But the thing with Vasquez is he frames it and they give it to him.
Yeah, because he's so damn quick, you don't even know he's doing it.
Yeah, it's weird, though, because I loved Christian Vasquez coming into this year, and I still think next year you're going to have to make him your starter again because you signed him to a 5-year extension in the spring.
I don't know, man. I kind of want Leon.
They might have to let Leon go, though.
Yeah.
They might have to.
Oh, it's a shame. Our pitching's going to take a hit.
There's going to be a team that overpays for him.
Yeah,
there's going to be a team that's like, oh, he's 5th in catcher's ERA, let's bring him over here to the Marlins! And he's going to be like, what? You want me to catch Jose Urania? Who is this guy? I was catching Chris Sale last year. But
it's going to be Marlins Orioles in the World Series next year.
With Sandy Leon winning World Series MVP. For catching 4 perfect games and hitting 8 home runs.
Even though Baltimore won. Ugh. Damn it, now I'm bummed. Porcello dominated. I lost the game.
It's whatever.
Wonderful. Yeah, so we'll move on to game 2, because nothing else really happened.
Brock Holt hitting a home run.
Oh, that was this game?
That was it.
Yeah, I guess it was this game.
8th inning. Torpedo off the bat of Brock Holt. Again.
Yep.
I don't understand.
The 9 hole in this game was our best player.
I'm trying to figure out how Brock Holt goes from one cheap home run for the first 4 months of the year to all of a sudden being a vital power source in this road trip, where both of his home runs were absolutely clubbed. The one against the Phillies was 427 feet. 108 miles an hour off the bat.
Well, if you ask Dennis Eckersley, anybody can hit a home run in Philadelphia.
It's 427 feet. I can understand if you cheap one.
Listen, I'm definitely on your side in this. I hate Eck. I understand that there are problems happening with Jerry Remy right now, which #fuck cancer.
Right.
But
a very appropriate swear. Word to my guy.
Yeah.
Times where you can swear as long as it's Like if it's a good time, an appropriate time, you can let it loose, and it's not going to be bad. That's
Yeah.
one of those things.
But Jesus, I would much prefer Steve Lyons in the booth because at least he underperforms. But Eckersley decides that anytime OB wants to say something, Eck has to provide color on whatever he says.
We're not going to argue again because I actually like Eck.
Okay, but O'Brien could say that he had a ham sandwich. And Eckersley would decide to tell you the exact consistency of the bread. And whether or not it was a good thing. Even though he didn't even see the damn sandwich. And then he would talk about the time that he made a ham sandwich back in the 80s, and it was the best ham sandwich ever.
Yes, but I don't know. He provides entertainment, and I think in terms of a chemistry standpoint, O'Brien and Eckersley are probably the best duo of the 3 or 4, maybe 5 guys that have been
of the rotating cast of characters that are in the booth.
Like you compare him to the likes of Remy, Lyons, Salty when he was in the booth last year, Johnny Gomes, Lenny DiNardo did a game. Eck and O'Brien are the best of the two of that group. They're probably the best duo. I love the 3-man booth. Like when Remy, Eck, and O'Brien were in there, I loved it. Well, because
it's too crowded. They just talk over each other.
Well, the thing with that is it kind of tones Eck down because I understand he overperforms sometimes. But when Remy was in there, it was kind of controlled where it was like O'Brien talks, Remy provides color, and then Eck would just like chime in with a story every once in a while. It was a lot better that way. But
that's the problem.
I like listening
tell
to some
stories.
I like some of his stories though.
There's a time and a place, and you don't have to always put yourself over in the stories. Jesus Christ, let's move on to Game 2 of this series, because it sucked. Now, it was actually a pretty good first 6 innings. Of course, I didn't see those first 6 innings, because I had to real person again. It sucks. Don't get a job. Don't listen to them. Live off the government. Don't listen to my advice. Mitch Moreland would get... Mitch Moreland would get a 3-run double in the first inning. Looked like the Red Sox were off to a hot start. Then Eovaldi would give up a run here in the 4th. Well, he would give up a lot of them, but he would give up a run here after Rafael Devers proved why he's the greatest fielder in baseball. And, yeah. Another error, in case you couldn't hint at the sarcasm there. That would lead to a Wilson Ramos double that would drive in a run, and then 2 more runs would score that inning. Only the last one actually being charged to Eovaldi, who at day's end went 5 innings, had 7 hits, only the 1 earned run despite letting in 3, and he had 5 strikeouts. So not an awful start, and I think a decent bounce-back game after he got whooped against Baltimore.
Yeah, he looked okay. I think a lot of it had to do with Leon being back behind the plate. A lot of it had to do with the fact that the Phillies, while they have some good players on their team, I feel like their offense isn't as prominent as people like to make it out to be. Like they have they have Dollar Tree Hanley Ramirez playing third base for them, and Maikel Franco. They have Asdrubal Cabrera, who's been terrible for them since he got there. Cesar Hernandez is okay. They had Justin Bour play last night. Wilson Ramos, who's been a killer for the Red Sox, and he was last night too.
Yeah.
And then Rhys Hoskins is the only guy in that lineup other than Ramos that I think really scares me at all. But yeah, Baldy looked okay. I mean, nothing too special. 5 innings. He's all right.
Yeah. And then
it's not his fault they lost.
Yeah, he ended up with a no decision because the decision would go to our boy, the potential future namesake of this podcast, Joe Kelly. Who would give up a run in the 6th, but it really wasn't his fault. It was Drew Pomeranz having his first bad bullpen outing of the year, giving up 3 runs in the 7th, and the Red Sox could only get 1 more, dropping this game 7-4 and ending what was at the time a 5-game winning streak. We didn't do a preview for this, so we don't have superlatives. I don't remember my superlatives for Baltimore, so we don't have anything else to go over unless you...
We just joked about our superlatives. That preview podcast was 18 minutes long. So
Yeah, and it really could have been 10. And we're doing a Rays podcast
that's gonna have to be in about
shortly.
15 minutes because I gotta go
Yeah,
soon.
so
But
once again, he's skipping town on the pod.
before
Whatever. That'll actually probably be out Friday morning. I'll get this one out tonight before.
do you want to just do that one tomorrow when we have
No.
more time? We don't have to rush through it.
No.
Okay.
It'll be fine. It's a preview. It's not important.
Okay.
I mean, listen to it. Love it. We give everything we have to every episode of this show. Except for the next one. I've been Dylan. That's been Jordan. Red Sox are okay. See you guys later.
Peace out, guys.